Are you ready, kids?
Play the f***ing track!
I can't hear you.
Play that f***ing track!
Oh. If you're my age, then you more than likely grew up with SpongeBob SquarePants, a lovable goofball fry cook who lives in a pineapple under the sea. It's without a doubt on my generation's Mount Rushmore characters, but even though I watched the TV show and pretty much every film from the franchise, I somehow, after all these years, never watched the original SpongeBob SquarePants movie. This is an episode my buddy Drew has been calling for a while now, so this episode of Screen to Console will be taking a look at the SpongeBob SquarePants the movie and its PS2 tie-in, the SpongeBob SquarePants the movie, the game, just for you, buddy.
Ticket to the SpongeBob movie!
Honestly, to me, the SpongeBob cinematic universe has been a mixed bag, but after watching the first film, it really just shows a trajectory of going downhill. I will spoil my opinion right now, but the SpongeBob SquarePants the movie is genuinely a borderline masterpiece that I've already watched a couple times now since starting this video. To capture the essence of the show so perfectly and turn it into a cinematic feature, I'm not sure there's any other property that has done it as masterfully as this film. What is so impressive about the film is not only is it a pretty accurate representation of what SpongeBob is as a whole, but the film is also a perfect standalone that is still easy to recommend to anybody who's not seen an episode of the show. If someone who knows nothing about SpongeBob sat down and watched the SpongeBob SquarePants the movie, they will likely get the same experience as the show without feeling needing to consume the lore beforehand. They will understand who these characters are, their motivations, the sense of humor, and everything that has made this show such a juggernaut that's been able to stand the test of time, all perfectly fitted within this film. But at the same time, those fans of the show will also receive some Easter eggs, additional context to expand upon some of the jokes, and humor to be a rewarding experience for both longtime fans and newcomers. The transition from TV to film is seamlessly set up in the opening shot where a group of pirates is singing about getting tickets to the SpongeBob movie. This scene feels like a Broadway moment that is used to harpoon us into the film as the film is introducing it as a film of a TV show inside the film. A lot of meta. This creates a natural transition to why the animation is sharper and looks more cinematic. Jumping from these singing pirates into a dream sequence from live action to animation, we see SpongeBob saving the day for a customer whose Krabby Patty doesn't have cheese on it. We are quickly introduced into the film's meta and over-the-top sense of humor, throwing you into the deep end of what the film has going on and what the film is going to be doing that feels like a gate check. You like these scenes? Then stick around. If not, it's only downhill from here. This dream sequence also perfectly sets up the film. SpongeBob is dreaming of becoming the manager of the new Krusty Krab. We know everything we need to know about SpongeBob right from this scene. He is an immature goof with a set ambition. Also, real quick, we learn in this film that SpongeBob's been working at the Krusty Krab for 31 years.
374 consecutive Employee of the Month awards.
Mr. Krabs, the owner of the Krusty Krab, is opening his second location, a Krusty Krab right next to the original Krusty Krab, and SpongeBob wants to be the manager. Krab's rival Plankton is mad about Krab's success, and out of his ideas of all the schemes he's tried, he finally lands on his plan Z after finding it. SpongeBob is passed over by Mr. Krabs for Squidward for the managerial position, and Plankton steals King Neptune's crown and blames Mr. Krabs for it. After a night of heavy milkshaking and sundaying at the Goofy Goober, SpongeBob comes back and rips Mr. Krabs a new one in front of King Neptune, which causes Neptune to want to kill Mr. Krabs. So SpongeBob and Patrick agree to go get Neptune's crown back at Shell City to help spare Mr. Krabs. This is a road trip movie where along the way they come across a bar where Motorhead is playing, and that is automatically a 10 out of 10. But along Patrick and SpongeBob's journey, the pair are thrown into wild predicaments, even at one point trying to best a hired killer from Plankton, while Plankton is slowly taking over Bikini Bottom. See, he was able to finally steal the precious Krabby Patty formula and giving out free chum bucket helmets with Krabby Patties that are actually mind control devices. Something that I've always loved in SpongeBob is its use of horror. It's just always really well done. The balance of absurdity, humor, gross out, music, and horror is what makes SpongeBob so special, and some of the best moments from the franchise can be found here in the film. The show always had a special knack of using some live action moments, and the film is no different, even taking a moment to cut back to the opening crew during a great fourth wall break. The climax of the film with the Goofy Goober rock scene is one of the most iconic moments from SpongeBob, and you can really see why, because when you're watching the film and you get to the scene, scene, it's pretty epic. Overall, this is just such an enjoyable film that even if you've never watched the show, it's just such a great unique voice in the world of animation, and I'd argue that this is honestly one of the best animated films out there. As a fan of SpongeBob, if the entire franchise ended up being erased tomorrow and only this movie was left behind, I honestly would be okay with that. To me, this is a perfect SpongeBob experience, but as an animated film, it uses that medium to full effect that makes it so much fun and a wild ride that would always pick me up if I was feeling down, which is why, honestly, this is probably going to become a new personal favorite comfort movie for me. I just really enjoyed it.
SpongeBob, you're almost there, but you'll need the paddy wagon to make it through to the Krusty Krab.
But Mindy, we lost the paddy wagon.
I think I can bring it back, but you'll need more Goofy Goober tokens.
Oh, I hate you, Mindy. I hate your guts. When it comes to licensed video games, SpongeBob has a lot of games to choose from, but honestly, I've only played a couple so far. However, as a fan of 3D platformer collectathons, both Battle for Bikini Bottom and the Cosmic Shake are both games that I would definitely recommend if you're a fan of that genre, and honestly, they're some of the better examples of licensed video games out there. With that being said, I wasn't sure what to expect from the official tie-in. I've heard some of these SpongeBob games can be pretty bad, and going through this series, you never really know what you're going to get, but I definitely wouldn't walk into a video game in this series with very high hopes regardless. The SpongeBob SquarePants The Movie The Game was developed by Heavy Iron Studios and published by THQ, following the exact same story as the movie, using still frames from the film with the narration playing over top of it to tell its story, which is definitely a disappointment when they could have just used scenes from the movie, but it's whatever, I guess. The game opens up during the dream sequence and we are thrust into some 3D platforming, and the controls, while the movement feels a little slow, are really solid. It's a bit floaty, but the jump does feel good. The combat can leave a lot to be desired, but if you've ever played Battle for Bikini Bottom, then you're kind of in familiar territory here with your movesets. During levels, you can collect XP that levels up SpongeBob and Patrick to give them very similar but kind of distinct to their own character. It's basically the same style of power-up but modded to fit that character, and you get a few of those as you go through the game to level up your characters. During levels, you can also collect extras that unlock costumes, art, and clips, but most importantly, you'll need to collect Goofy Goober tokens. There will be checks in the game requiring you to have collected a certain amount of Goofy Goober tokens before you can advance. These you obtain by completing levels and challenges within those levels, and while most of these ones that you come by naturally during the level have a decent variety to them, the ones that are locked until you unlock a certain power up and have to come back to it, these challenges are pretty much copy and pasted from level to level and can get old when you have to go back and grind through them to get Goofy Goober tokens to advance forward. Thankfully, it's very easy to travel back and forth to complete these challenges from the menu screen. From here, the game pretty much follows the film in a cliff note format that makes the story of the game weaker if you haven't watched the film. However, this game falls into a weird category where if you watch the movie, the game is actually kind of better because of its level design. While the story follows the same one as the film, only adding tweaks to help get you into the gameplay, the levels are very well designed. I think this is really showcased in the level I'm Ready Depression, where you play inside the Goofy Goober during SpongeBob and Patrick's bender, allowing you to kind of explore these scenes rather than just watch them. This making Patrick and SpongeBob journey feel even grander in the whole scope of everything. With each level being built around scenes of the movie, it gives the player a natural feeling of progression to get through the levels as we go from scene to scene, pulling the player into the adventure with SpongeBob and Patrick. It feels like the game designers really wanted to build fun, impressive levels around the ideas of what the movie was going for and kind of expand upon those, giving the player something more to chew on than maybe just the narrative experience. It took inspiration and did something unique and fun as a way to complement the film and engage the player. But here's the brass tacks. The levels are just really fun to play. The game constantly rewards players for searching through the nook and crannies while also having some smooth platforming and some fun challenges that can be a challenge at some point. The game also has some pretty great pacing to break up the monotony of some of the gameplay by adding levels like boss fights and driving levels to help kind of break up the platforming, so nothing feels too stale until you have to go back and grind these challenges. The game also feels like it knows when to introduce the new power-ups to keep the gameplay interesting by adding in some new mechanics. While the character leveling up is very limited, they make a large impact when you do finally level up and drastically change change up how I wanted to approach the ways I tackled enemies and kind of encouraged me to explore a bit more. You can also max out characters a little bit before the late game, which gives you a good little bit of time to play with maxed out characters as well, which is something I've always kind of just liked in video games. Since the movie goes through a lot of different areas with SpongeBob and Patrick's journey to Shell City, so does the game, which gives you a lot of variety in level design and overall landscapes that keeps the game looking fresh as you play as well. I've talked about some of the challenges being repetitive. There's a lot of the same game, new paint, but outside of the driving and my least favorite, the guitar challenges, some of these challenges are really fun and, well, challenging. There's a monkey ball-esque challenge that was a lot of fun despite it being hard sometimes, and a Super Mario Sunshine block level ripoff that was also challenging and fun despite sometimes being hard as well. Some of the platforming in the game is actually really good, and completing some of these challenges was very rewarding. While I'm not a fan of having to back travel to complete challenges, I am thankful that the game's fast travel to those challenges is very easy and quick to use. What I did not expect was the difficulty in some of the back chapters of this game. First off, the wall jumping is pretty bad. To me, it's the weakest part of the platforming and really my major complaint when it comes to the platforming as a whole. There are some sections of the game though where you have to pull off some rather tight wall jumping that I personally found kind of difficult to judge. But where the difficulty comes in with SpongeBob and Patrick is when they make it back to Bikini Bottom, that section of the back end of the game where Plankton has already taken over the city. There's just some genuinely tough spots here that stand out because the game does feel like it has a pretty natural difficulty progression, even if it feels like there's that missing stepping stone toward the back end of the game. The King Neptune boss fight though was genuinely difficult for my pebble brain to manage, but I did get through it after locking in. But after playing that boss fight, you can eat your heart out from soft. We've seen tie-in movie games approach the adaptation from film to video game in a lot of different ways so far, but I don't think we've come across a game that does it quite like SpongeBob SquarePants the movie The Game, where it uses the video game medium to expand upon the film despite using the film's narrative as its own crutch. Sure, there are other nitpicks or complaints like how some of the boss fights are underwhelming, hitting that brick wall that makes you have to go back and collect more Goofy Goober tokens, and some lack of variety in those challenges, but the game developed itself to try and use the medium fully to explore those scenes from the film rather than to take away from or to change the film so drastically to try to fit within being a video game. While I honestly love and adore the film as a new classic film for me on rotation, the game's kind of wiggled its way into a similar position in the world of gaming. While it's definitely not the best 3D platformer collectathon out there that I've played, this is still a really good one though, and honestly should be in the talking realm of one of the best licensed / movie tie-in games out there. Both the game and the film are absolutely fantastic, and I honestly can't recommend them enough. So obviously, the SpongeBob SquarePants the movie and the SpongeBob SquarePants the movie the game get the rating of watch and play.